Chapter 10, Lady Luck. Back at the house, once everyone has changed out of their swimsuits, your allies meet up in your room to privately examine what you found. If she is what I think she is there any way to say for sure whether the statue is the murder weapon? As you turn it over in your hands, John shakes his head. Unfortunately, being stuck in the filter washed it clean. There's no sign of blood. I'm guessing no fingerprints either. Which was either incredibly luck or someone else's plan all along. There's gotta be something we can use. What about that stuff from crime shows, that glow spray stuff? Liminal? It can't find blood if you clean it with the right chemicals. The pond is filtered, chemically cleaned, which means they probably used sodium carbonate. Even if sheer force of an industrial water filter didn't scrub the hemoglobin off, the sodium carbonate would have probably did it. Noted. The things you know never cease to amaze me, and also slightly scare me. Don't worry, I'm not looking to get away with murder. Just solve one. There's only really one way to determine if this is a murder weapon. That's consulting a medical professional. Meaning Madani is our only option, which brings us to a problem. Madani Kapoor! Doctor! Yeah, she might be the killer, just saying. She already got this one wrong once, right? Missing Nick's head wound and mistaking it for part of the fall damage. Can you blame her? She was looking over the dead body of her friend in a thunderstorm while wearing a dress and stilettos. You try to picture yourself in Madani's shoes the night the world fell apart, searching desperately for answers. Now, playing as Madani. Storm roar, sheets of cold rain pouring down on you as you stand over the body of your friend. Oh, Nick, I never thought you'd... You push that thought away as the wind pelts you, smearing mascara in your eyes as you try to examine the body. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm no mortician, but I have to try. Wipe away the blood, move his head. You try to tilt his head to let the blood run off, then give you the feel in his skull is sickening. But you steel yourself. Hold it together, Madani. This is no time to get squeamish. You try to look past the fact that it's Nick and focus on the problem, the answers you need, and then you see it. Serious fracture through the parietal bone. You landed head first. God, at least it would have been quick. I'm so sorry, Nick. If I don't get out of this cold soon, I might join you. Now, playing as Fallon. But there's one more possibility we have to consider, that she lied about what she saw to cover her own tracks. Now, playing as Madani again. The storm roars, sheets of cold rain pouring down on you as you stand over the body of your friend. Patient Nick Galliant. Time of death, almost exactly 7 p.m. Cause of death? The wind pelts you as you examine his body, allowing yourself a brief, satisfied smile. Unknown. The impact from the fall perfectly masked the earlier injury. And none of the other guests have medical training to second-guess me. Goodbye, Nick. My secret dies with you. None of these sucker friends of yours will ever know that I'm secretly... Secretly what, exactly, Finn? You, Madani, think for a moment. Secretly running an underground cloning facility to replace people in power. I don't know. Should have went with the other one. Now Blake is Finn. That's your best guess. Okay, I admit, Madani's kind of a closed book. I have no idea what her motive would be. There are a lot of things that could put a doctor's job in jeopardy. Maybe you convinced a patient to cut the wire to their heart device to get a transplant, or a lion got loose in your hospital. Are those all examples from Grey's Anatomy? Just off the top of my head, I can think of at least 5 more. Nothing that happens in that show has ever happened in a real hospital, and Madani's a concierge doctor. She doesn't usually work in hospitals. But we still need someone to compare the statue to Nick's wound. No matter how we all feel about Madani as a suspect, we can learn a lot about how she reacts to looking at the statue. It's true. No matter what she does or doesn't say, it'll tell us something. I like it. Kind of like Hamlet putting on that play for Claudius and, well, Hamlet. And as a bonus, out of everyone here, Madani's always had the biggest tells. Tells. You think you can tell when she's lying? Most of the time, yes. When you lead a double life yourself, you get a pretty good noticing when other people have something to hide. Whether it's their posture, their tone of voice, even the way they order a glass of wine, everyone's got to tell. Even John. Agree to disagree. And whether they're lying about the tan line on their ring finger or covering up a homicide, the principle is the same. I could give you a few pointers before we talk to the good doctor if you want, Finn. See if together we can catch her in a lie. Time and choice, tell me everything. Teach me everything. Especially how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie, you teach me. If I'm going to show a suspect our likeliest murder weapon, I need to know if she gives herself away. Excellent decision. Boys, why don't you go track down the doctor and keep an eye on her while Finn and I talk? We're on him. Keep your cell phone handy and I'll text you when we find her. Excellent. Now, as fond as I am of lounging on your mattress, maybe we can do this somewhere more, with more seating. Farah leads you to a cozy sitting room where she plops down on one of the L-shaped couches. You take a seat beside her. Okay, Professor Sabri, teach me everything you've got. She chuckles softly at the nickname. To start, there are, of course, the classic tells: avoiding eye contact, nervous tics, fidgeting. They aren't perfect, but they're pretty reliable for the average person. Does Madani do any of those? Not that I've noticed, but things like tics do tend to show more in high-pressure situations. What you need to do is keep in mind that with Madani is that people who think they're buttoned up can be easiest to read. What do you mean? Here's a classic example. You remember Bill Clinton? Decent president as presidents go. Yeah, I remember literal President Clinton. I was born in '90s, you know. Oh, I know, I've looked you up. Wait. Why were you doing internet searches about me? One of the biggest effects of befriending Nick is how often he will talk about his friends and what they're up to. Your name came up a number of times, possibly more than anyone other should, so I couldn't help but be curious. Nick does love talking about his friends. It's a shame I heard more about his misadventures with Steve than you. Can you blame him? He couldn't exactly reveal how much time we'd spent together for our work. True. I guess the less I knew, the better. Anyway, judgments about his presidency aside, it's a documented truth that Clinton lied under oath, and on camera lots of times. His biggest tell is that once he starts going, he frequently touches his nose. That's a tell? Yep. A pretty common one. When you're under added stress from lying, more blood flows into vessels in the nose, causing it to expand. That releases a histamine, which can make the nose itch. Oh, what about pulse? I've heard or read that a person's heart starts beating faster when they lie. Is that really a thing? It part is true. But if you're getting close enough to tell that about somebody without a machine, there may be other reasons for their heart to race. She winks. Oh, so if I felt your heartbeat now, what would it tell me? Why don't you see for yourself, Detective? She wraps her hand around the back of yours and gently places it over her chest. Through the sleek fabric of her dress, you can feel the precision of her heart. It's thumping like a bass drum, racing under your fingers. You must be lying about something because your heart is pounding. That has nothing to do with lying and everything to do with the woman sitting next to me. Your own heart beats a little harder as you let your hand fall back to your side, and she smiles that sparkling smile at you. Let's get in some practice. I'll tell you something, and you guess if I'm lying. You want me to read you, the woman whose whole life is basically a cover story? We'll start with an easy one. Let's say I think you're very attractive. Well, that's absolutely true. You've been flirting with me since we got here. Not that I'm complaining. Her lips curve into an approving smile. I'm glad you noticed, though, to be fair. It's partially because you're so fun to flirt with. Talk about tells. Hey, this isn't about my tells. You're supposed to help me prep for our talk with Madani. Now I'm going to give you a harder question, and I really want you to think about it before you answer. Don't assume you know it. Okay. She looks you dead in the eye, her voice calm and level. The hardest part of living a double life is keeping all of the lies straight. Beside you, Farah's body tenses for just a moment. It's so slight you almost miss it, but it seems like she's holding her breath. I'm gonna go with that's true. Ooh, so close. But no cigar, I'm afraid. You were paying attention to my voice when you should have been focusing on my body language. But you tensed. But, okay, that one felt like a setup. Like I told you after you caught me in Nick's secret room, all best lies are at least a little bit true. Keeping the lie straight can be hard, but it's definitely not the hardest part. Then what is? She looks at you for a long moment, weighing her reply. But when the answer comes out, you instantly know it's an honest one. The loneliness. You mean flying across continents every day? Or every few days, always moving from one job to the next? That doesn't help, to be fair. But that would just be as lonely if I was exactly who I pretended to be. Jet-setting and partying around the globe. But never letting anyone in. That weighs on you. You tell one lie to cover up your intentions, and you're telling another to cover up your escape. Lying about where you've been, what you want, and before you know it, you wake up one day and realize that there's only one person in the world who knows a fraction of who you truly are. Was only one person, and his body is laying downstairs in a freezer. Farah, does it still feel lonely right now? Her gaze flicks to yours, and despite all of her talk of tells, for a moment, she's utterly unreadable. Then, instead of her usual poised, perfect smile, she smiles at you with a vulnerability you've never seen before. A little less than usual, if I'm being honest. I'll take it. And for what it's worth, I like getting to know the real you. I'd like to get to know more of her if you want. I'll try to remember that. There's a soft chime and your phone vibrates in your pocket. You look at the display. That's Dante. Looks like he and Jun found Madani. Then we have an enigmatic doctor to grill. I just have one more question. This whole setup, spending time together, this was about more than just teaching me tells, wasn't it? She hesitates before replying, just for a half a second. Of course it was. It's the hesitation that convinces you. You look in her eyes, and from everything she has taught you, you're 99% sure she's telling the truth. I happen to enjoy your company, Finn. Much more than I ever expected to. The feeling's mutual. You meet John and Dante in one of the hallways on the ground floor, where you hear raised voices coming from a few doors down. Like, you've got any business handing out advice, you rich twit. Well, at least I got something to lose. With that, Steve comes storming out of the room, almost running straight to you. Oh, hey, Steve. Oh, great. The whole Scooby gang is here for a console. Have fun with her. She's a real piece of work. Steve storms past in turn, and you turn your attention back to the room he came from. You find Madani sitting at a table in what is clearly one of the mansion's game rooms, her head in her hands. Madani, what was that about? She sits up startled, hastily wiping her eyes. Just the latest episode of Diagnose Steve's Mystery Illness Theater, a production and never asked to be cast in. Then, there are some guys that send women pictures of their junk, but lucky me, the ones I know want to send me pictures of their hemorrhoids. I know I'm not supposed to, but damn, wow, could you imagine? As she says it, she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, not looking at any of you in the eye. I'm 90% sure she just lied to me. So, what's really bothering her? I can have John beat him up for you if you like. Do you want John to beat him up? Hey, we shouldn't assume. No, I'm actually comfortable being volunteered for this. That's very kind of you all to offer, but you haven't seen the pictures I've seen. The man's in enough pain already. And since you're all here, I get the sense that this isn't a social call. Well, we were hoping you could look at something for us. The question is, what will you have to say about it? You hold the statue lady lock out to her, choosing your words carefully. Madani, do you recognize this? Let me see. She takes the object in her hands, turning it over. Am I supposed to? We think it might be what cave Nick's head in. Her eyes go wide, she shoves the statue back into her hands. You just let me put my fingerprints all over something you think might be the murder weapon? We found it lodged in one of the pond's filters, so any chance of getting DNA or fingerprints is long gone. We just wanted to know if you thought it was possible. Well, this certainly has a good heft to it. With those sharp corners near the top and sufficient force applied at the right angle, you think that this could be it? Potentially, but again, I'm a family doctor, not a forensics expert. This weekend was the first time working with a dead body since anatomy lab in med school, and I hope it's the last. Madani's tone is grim, but her hands are steady as she hands the statue back to you, and she has no trouble meeting your eyes. It seems like she's being honest about it, but if she killed Nick this weekend, it still wouldn't be a lie. But when the second time you asked me to look at Nick's body, I took some photos of the wound. Let me get one of the statues too. You eye your allies for a quick consensus, but when they all nod, Madani snaps a picture of her phone and sends a text. I just sense that, and the wound photo to an old friend in forensics. She should be able to verify if this killed Nick. But these sorts of things involve virtual mock-ups, testing. It might take a bit before she can give me an answer. I'll keep you posted. You see John subtly circling around Madani, trying to catch a glimpse of her phone screen. He's trying to verify that she actually sent this to his forensics friend. Thanks for letting us put your connections to use. We knew you'd be able to help. You weren't sure when you last saw her smile, but it's still a rare sight to see her smile now. Of course, it's the least I can do. Behind her, John manages to glance at her phone screen before moving to a safe distance. He gives you a subtle nod. He confirmed that she sent the pics to someone, but who's to say if she'll get anything back, or if she'll admit if she did. But what would your motive be then, Madani? She tucks her phone away with a slight shudder. Still not easy seeing Nick like that. I actually saved his life the day we met, before he helped me start doing concierge medical care. I just wish I could have done something to save him now. She puts her head in her hands again, her shoulders trembling like she's fighting back tears. You read Madani's body language thanks to Farah's lessons. Her body language is screaming that she feels guilty about something. But is it what she says, or is it regret over killing Nick? Maybe there's an opening here. Madani, we've all been through a lot these past days. Have you been doing anything to take care of yourself? Finn is right. Since we got here, I've only seen you take care of everyone else. I don't have much time for hobbies. Even with fewer clients, my job still takes a load of my bandwidth. You don't have anything you do to just blow off stress? I'd like to drive around LA, scream along to Olivia Rodrigo songs. Why would you all expose all of Los Angeles to your inner angst? Sometimes you just gotta let it all out, man. Even you must do something to de-stress, right? Well, when I was in deployment, we usually didn't have much more than a pack of cards and energy bars, so we played cards for bars. I love poker as a way to distress. Seeing her perk up, John shoots you a quick, pointed look. Want to play? Could be a nice excuse to vent about everything, how much it sucks to lose a good friend and be stuck here with this killer. And maybe we get some good clues about what makes her tick. Good thinking. I'm in, but we all need at least one more. 2 people isn't much of a game. I'll pass. I've always been terrible at card games. They aren't my speed either, but Dante and I can keep anyone from crashing the game, notably Steve. Finn, you in? Extra insight into her history with the victim. Diamond choice, I'm assuming. Let's get dangerous. Okay, let's play. Have fun, you 3. Dante and Farah stroll off as you sit down on the room's card table with John and Madani. John zigzags the pile of cards across the table, then begins mixing them with both your hands, and you can barely keep track of them as they move. This is called Corgi Shuffle. I see you're a man who knows his cards. If you know your cards, then you know we need to set stakes, or else we might as well be playing with pieces of painted tree bark. Any suggestions? Well, at Nick's 16th birthday party, he corralled me into an embarrassing game of truth and dare. So, let's bet truths and dares in his honor. Winner gets to pick a truth or dare from the 2 losers. Interesting. And open to either fun or mischief. We could use a little of both. John has the first deal. You start off your first hand with a pair of 10s. Not great, but it could be worse. I'll raise. Ugh, not with this hand. John folds his cards down. Looks like it's just me and you, Finn. Call. I hope you, are ready to lose. She chuckles. Confident words aren't going to make your hand any better. Anani lands a straight, taking the round. Looks like I'm the lucky one this round. Which means the spoils are yours. Don't dare us to do anything weird. I mean, it was supposed to be truth or dare, just saying. I'm one of the normal people you're trapped in this mansion with, remember? I'm going to dare you both to slam a shot glass full of maraschino cherries. That's what you consider normal? Greeting, she heads over to a small shelf full of drinks and snacks to retrieve a jar of them. Never had these, but okay. They're just so neon. She packs 2 glasses full of them and slides them over to you and John. Drink up. You're down the neon red sugar bombs, and the sickly sweet texture makes you shudder, but you manage to chew your way through them. I've never tasted anything so red, or seen Madani enjoy herself this much. That was unpleasant. A dare is no fun unless it's a little unpleasant. I thought doctors were supposed to do no harm. It doesn't stop me from prescribing medicines with unpleasant side effects. Same principle. That's fair, I guess. Unless you're the killer, which would make that sentence way more ominous. As John picks up the deck to shuffle for the next round, some of her words from earlier come back to you. You mentioned that you saved Nick's life when you met. What exactly happened? I'm curious too. Nick told me the story, but I've never heard your side of it. It's not really as exciting as it sounds. Nick and I both went invited to this charity event. I had no idea who he was, beyond some business guy. They're there to do more business. While he was pitching some new invention to a group at the table, he starts coughing, sputtering. Luckily, I was at the table behind him. I got him out of his chair, did the Heimlich maneuver, and out came a walnut. Seriously? The Heimlich works just the way people show it on television? Yes, it's one of the few medical techniques I've ever seen accurately portrayed on television. When you've been trained in first aid, it's easy, but Nick sang my praises to everyone that night. He insisted on staying in touch. I was working 80-hour weeks at a hospital back then, but Nick took me for drinks when I had time. One day, when I broke down about the hours, he suggested a career change, introduced me to friends who were looking for a concierge doctor. He set you up with your first clients? And my second, third, I went with buckling under my workload to getting more pay for fewer clients. He changed my life. Yeah, he tended to do that, didn't he? Maybe the cards will be as generous this round as Nick. John deals everyone their hand. Ooh, 2 kings, that's a strong pair. Finally, I actually have a shot at winning. Almost instantly, John folds his cards. Damn, tonight's really not my night. It's not like any of us had a particularly lucky weekend. Lady Luck's not on our side. Watch her closely as you reference a statue, but she just nods. Despite that, I'll raise. You and her go back and forth, raising, drawing, until you use your strong starting cards to build a winning hand. A full house. You win this one. So what'll it be, truth or dare? I've got no interest in making you do stunts. I want a hard truth. Tell me, what's your favorite memory? The most surprising thing you learned about Nick? Did you two ever date? Most surprising thing you learned about Nick? When he said he'd go do anything for friends, he meant it. And he would do more than just throw money at them. The first time I met Steve, he was putting on a convention for NFT artists. He wanted Nick to come, so Nick asked me along. An art convention needed a doctor? You'd be surprised. Nick knew it'd be a disaster. These weren't exactly the best and brightest, though mostly I ended up treating Steve. I remember that one. Unfortunately, I was still working for Steve. Maybe you can tell me how he ended up with an ugly picture of a monkey stapled to his forehead. Man, I ain't touching that with a 100-foot pole. I wish I could, but he was at a room alone when it happened, and some questions are better left unanswered. Despite the obvious scamminess of it all, Nick was there giving his support to Steve for better or worse. Nick was someone special. And, unless this was one hell of an act, it seems like he meant a lot to her. Not that rules her out. A comma would have been appreciated right there. Yeah. Until he wasn't alive, I mean. The memory of your last time seeing Nick hangs over all of you like a shroud. Madani hurriedly clears her throat. Okay, let's do another hand. Deal us in, John. She wipes at her eyes as John deftly works the cards to a shovel, but you notice that some cards aren't being shoveled with the rest. John's gaze matures and flicks towards Madani. Let's just say the winner takes all this round. Truth or dare? Whoever wins gets one last truth or dare from the others. That sounds like a great plan. And a chance to get one more answer out of her. Something that might shift her up or down our suspect list. Fine by me. Higher stakes makes things more interesting anyway. John deals the cards, sets the deck aside, reaches for his face-down cards quickly. Someone's eager to see if his luck's changing. Okay, a little forward, but alright. You reach out to grab your cards, letting your hand brush up against John's, feeling the rough calluses that line his knuckles. John keeps his gaze trained on his cards, but you still catch a slight smile flickering across his face. Sorry, just getting my hand. Take your time. You two turn your cards, and a 2 and an 8. John frowns as he deals out the rest of the cards. Remind me never to bet on the same thing as you, John. Not today at least. My luck's been terrible. She flips her hand over, revealing 4 10s. Then I think I'll be taking this. Then you flip over the rest of your cards. 4 aces. This hand? Yes, I think I will. Take your prize, Finn. Okay, Madani, I've got another truth for you. She is the closest to relaxed you've ever seen her, and you don't want to put her back on edge, so you choose your words carefully. Have you ever broken your Hippocratic oath? For a moment, her expression falls before she puts her poker face back on. Yes. Once. Before you can press her further, she stands, pushing her chair out from underneath the table. This was fun, you two, but I've got a lingering headache from dealing with Steve. I'm going to get some rest. And with that, she excuses herself and heads out, leaving you and John alone together. Well, that was cryptic. Did she break the do no harm oath hurting Nick, or something entirely else? She really seemed to care about him, and I don't think that was a lie. So, if she did hurt Nick, she must have had one hell of a motive. The question is, what? Well, if she had one, we'll find it. We just need to keep digging. Well, we wouldn't have gotten this far without your incredible poker face and surprisingly sneaky card skills. You rigged that last hand for me, didn't you? Just a little trick for the times when little tricks are required. If you rig the hand, does that still mean I get to claim my reward? That depends on what you're looking for. Drop and give me 20 push-ups. Or tell me the truth. Drop and give me 20. Without a moment's hesitation, he drops in a push-up position and starts pushing out reps. 8, 9, 10. Wow, you make that look easy. On the next rep, he pushes himself off the ground and claps his hands between each push-up. Oh, you braggadocious man. 11, 12. Now you're just showing off. I know. His jacket tragically leaves a lot to your imagination, but you can see his clothes stretching taut over his sculpted muscles. 19, 20. He jumps to his feet, his chest rising and falling as his breathing quickly returns to normal. I should have asked for 50. That would have made it a challenge. He arches an eyebrow, smiling. He hasn't even broken a sweat. And you could have watched for longer? Would you have mind? With you watching? No, I wouldn't have. Maybe I'd be up for another demonstration later, but until then, what's our next step? We might not love it, but I think we should have a word with Steve. He was arguing with Madani earlier, and I want to know why. After regrouping with Dante and Farah, you find Steve lounging in the main sitting room with a plate full of snacks. Did Doc brush you off too? Sure. You and Madani aren't each other's biggest fans, are you? Yeah, you could say that. Can you believe she thinks she's good? Too good for me just because she's a doctor? I mean, look at her. She's a 5 at best. Steve. I'll ignore that comment if you'll tell us what you were arguing about. Unless you were just fighting with Madani, having standards, in which case, I have to agree with her. Likewise. Ouch. Wow. Do you want the info or not? Fine. What was so important that we could hear you two yelling about it from halfway across the house? He eyes you for a moment, and you expect him to clam up, but then he shrugs. The squeaky clean doctor is up to her eyeballs in gambling debt. When I showed some friendly concern, asked how paying off the loan sharks is going, she lost it. That's what I was getting for being nice. Sorry, just making sure I heard you right. She's into gambling? Yeah, but ever since I found out, she's had beef with me. She doesn't like people knowing about her only vice. Honestly, I believe him. Madani would light up when we suggested a poker game. You should have seen her during the game. I've never seen her smile that much. If Madani is seriously in debt, this would be the motive we've been looking for. Steve clearly knows a lot about what we don't. Just how persistent are these loan sharks you mentioned? Whoa, buy a guy dinner first. I've shared all I want for free. Steve, my best friend is dead. This isn't Shark Tank. And I'm just asking for an arm and a leg, or I'm not. Just something to make it worth my while if I share the juicy stuff. We're risking our necks trying to catch Nick's murderer. And you want... Dante rests a hand on John's shoulder and quickly chimes in. How would you feel about a tour of Nick's private wine cellar? I got the keys, and I bet he wouldn't mind us sampling it in his memory. Dante happens to be a great tour guide. Take it from me. I bet he'd show you all the highlights. You shoot him a small grin, and Dante smiles clearly, remembering the tour he gave you the day you met. I'll do my best. You're right, I'm feeling a little better just thinking about it. Me and my buddies, Dante, Finn, Farah, cracking open some bottles of... Oh no, I have to be somewhere else, and John has important security things to do, don't you, John? I don't think I was invited, but I also don't want any part of this, so sure. So, just me and my buddies, Dante and Finn, enjoying what Nick left us. What do you think, Finn? Getting chummy with Steve might get him to spill whatever else he knows about Madani. Whatever she doesn't want us to know. Should open some bottles. And follow me. Dante leads you and Steve through a door near the kitchen and down into a fully stocked wine cellar. I had no idea this was even here. It's not part of Nick's standard house tour, but he and I come down here a lot. Came down here a lot. God, that still feels so surreal to say. If we're gonna grieve, I need to do it with a drink. Find us a bottle, Dante. Dante paces along one of the shelves, examining the options. Well, Nick put these bottles aside over the last few years for special occasions. If we don't drink them now, I'm afraid they'll end up in some charity lot with 1,000 other bottles, and that would be a waste. Oh yeah, totally. How much are they worth? It varies. Some are expensive, but some of them, sometimes a good wine is more about the right place and time than cost. I agree with that. Sounds like you know your stuff. Are you a connoisseur? I just dabble. But my parents they've got a huge collection back on their estate. and I guess I developed a taste for the stuff. Plus, I've been to enough industry parties where they just throw whatever is hot at you. I prefer my drinks with more personality. Aha, something like this. Dante pulls a dusty bottle off a nearby empty shelf. I was with Nick and Angela the weekend they bought this, although my date somehow turned out to hate wine and movies. Oof, rough date. Yeah, but at least we got the good vintage out of it. He skillfully uncorks the bottle and pours a glass for each of you. Here's to Nick Gallion. True Renaissance man. We miss you, Nick. Smartest dude I ever knew. For a moment, you're afraid Steve's gonna pour his glass out, but instead, he downs it and pours himself another. Raise the glass. A strong, velvety flavor washes over your palate. Your throat stings a little as you swallow, but maybe that's not the wine. It's the fact that I can't stop picturing Nick standing here. Not bad. You know, one time I was at this party with Nick where they were all selling wine with gold flakes in it. It sounded like it would taste terrible. Not if you drink it fast, and hey, gets the job done. Speaking of getting things done, what else can you tell us about Madani? We can have a few more drinks before getting into all that, Steve, if you want. Just keep pouring and I'll start talking. Sure, you got it. So, you know what they say about people having skeletons in their closet? Well, Madani, she's got a whole damn graveyard. Picture a big walk-in closet with all those fancy wood sections, right? But all of them, boom, skeletons. In the drawer, skeletons, hamper, skeletons. Those cool overlit shelves for hot shoes, skeletons. And these skeletons are more than just her gambling debt? Well, that's one layer of the skeletons. Steve, how do you know all this? You guys probably don't realize this, but I happen to know some shady dudes. I'm shocked. Stunned. Just bear with me on this one. I know some guys who are into some wild stuff. Guys that run casinos, underground clubs, you name it. Is Madani secretly some club owner? No. That's just where I first ran into her, as a high roller stable. Learned about her little money problem when it comes to cards. But what does that have to do with Nick's dad? It sounds like gossip. Yeah, so far you haven't told us anything new. I'm getting to that. See, our little debt problem started years ago, and she ran up a tab with some hefty, nasty people back then. So, she needed a bailout from the kind of guys who are always down to help a friend in need. Wait, Nick? He knew about this? Steve clears his throat. Sorry, my mouth is getting a little dry. Dante, could you, Steve holds up his empty glass. Dante pulls another bottle from a low shelf. Here, this one's from a winery up in Lodi. It's closed now, but they made the best California red you've ever tasted. Oh man, Lodi always makes me think of the old CCR song. Steve starts humming to himself as you and Dante exchange a long, suffering look. So, are you saying Nick paid off Madani's old gambling debt? Bingo. Nick loved Madani like some kind of bossy, messy big sister. Probably because she saved his life. Maybe. Who knows? Look around. Nick collects weirdos, parasites. He loves to help people. Some people always need help. Like Crystal, you know? Hot, but basically helpless. Crystal's not the first person that comes to mind with that description. This is true. Dante, ever the actor, manages to keep his expression pleasantly neutral, but you notice his grip on the wine glass tightening. Steve, I will literally pour you another drink if you focus. Right, getting back on track. He pointedly waits for you to refill his glass before continuing. So a few years ago, I heard that she came to Nick bawling, scared some loan sharks would beat her up if she didn't come up with enough cash. Nick pays off her debts, but tells her it's a one-time thing. Never again, or she's on her own. Steve? I think I know how the story ends. Let me guess, she quit gambling, tried to keep her promise, but it couldn't last. How'd you know that? Because it's literally every better person who has an addiction like this. I'm a writer, remember? You literally just laid down the foreshadowing. Oh, yeah, well, you got it right on the money. She told Nick she was quitting gambling, and she did, for a while. But I've seen her back at some of her old tables lately, writing checks, even a fancy doctor's salary can't back up. If you know about this, why didn't you stop her? I'm not her babysitter, man. Besides, I would not want to get on the bad side of people she owes money to. But if you're looking for a motive, I bet she came to this party hoping to ask Nick for another loan, hoping that he wouldn't ask why. Maybe he said no. She figured a dead Nick couldn't tell her what to do with the money from his will. A will that wouldn't have been worth anything if Madani knew Nick was going to give up all of his assets. Dante catches your gaze, eyes widening as he clearly comes to the same conclusion. That's possible, I guess, but pretty dark. The hearts of women are dark, man. The sooner you learn that, the better off you'll be. Now, if you'll excuse me. Steve gets to his feet, plucks a bottle from the top shelf, cradling it in his arms. This lady and I are gonna go make some sweet love before I drift off to sleep. You and Dante watch him head up the stairs, swaying a little, and then it's just the two of you. So, do we believe him? About Nick bailing Madani out once and her being desperate enough to try asking him for another loan? Yeah, I think I do. But whether she's our killer is still an open question. It's a lot more motive than we had before, at least. Yeah, thank you for suggesting this and for being such a good host. I would have just handed Steve the most expensive-looking bottle I could find and hoped for the best, but you're full of surprises. I guess I'd just like to know why things are the way they are, especially with characters I'm playing. The first time I got cast as a gangster, I spent weeks researching different calibers of guns, which cars are better for highway chases. Funny, that's a big part of my process of writing. So, between the two of us, we're a regular trivia night dream team. Oh, yeah. I bet we could clean house. The only problem is that no bar trivia you ever win actually gives you a bottle or pitcher of anything decent. Here, hang on a second. He rushes to a shelf in the back, returns with a bottle with a wax seal and a simple label. He begins pouring a few glasses. New bottle, new bottle, must be a good year. I actually bought this for Nick this weekend. It was one of his favorite vintages, but that's not why I'm opening it. Then, why? This is gonna sound corny, but if you like the stuff, every bottle of wine has its own personality. And this one happens to remind me of you. Okay, now I have to try it. You tip the glass back, sip the wine. It tickles your tongue. There's a musk, but underneath that, a sweetness with a hint of strawberry. You hold it in your mouth for a moment, enjoying it, and then you swallow. So, what's the verdict? I want to hear why it reminds you of me. He finishes sipping his wine and gives you a mischievous smile. You, don't want to guess? No, I want to put you on the spot and make you explain. And just as a warning, I'm gonna mock you if you call me full-bodied and earthy. Chuckling, he picks up the bottle, gently turning it in his hands. Noted. Let's just say it's complex. It doesn't wear all of its influences on its sleeve, but if you give it time, it is sweet. I'll allow it. You may continue. It's warm, not boring. Its flavor's deep, complex, yet true to its roots. It's not something I'd recommend to everybody, but I feel like it could become my favorite wine, assuming I can get my hands on it again. Get your hands on it? Well, it's an excellent wine. It's bound to have lots of opportunities. But if I had the option, I would pour myself a glass every night. That was very cheesy, but also smooth. We'll go ahead and kiss him. We'll allow it. Why wait to pour yourself a glass tonight when you can have a taste now? Oh, well, as long as the vintage is available. Horrible. Dante steps around the table, and that's been separating you. He's leaning in to meet you in a heady kiss. His lips pressed against yours slowly, savoring every moment. Then, when you finally part, his eyes are dark, his smile wide and full of wonder. God, I miss the way you taste. And I think you should refresh your memory a little more. His fingers caress the back of your neck, setting your nerves alight as he kisses you once more. It's deeper this time, his lips parting yours, and then he travels. He's trailing kisses along your jaw, setting your head spinning, until his phone buzzes. Rip. Damn, just got a text from Jun. Is he trying to ruin the mood? Not on purpose. He says he wants us to look at something. I guess we'd better get going then. Yeah, but maybe we can pick this up later. Yeah, you've got a deal. You reunite with John and Farah in the hallway outside a small room on the second floor. For big parties, Madani always had Nick set up a triage room in case there was any injuries. If she's hiding something, it could be in here. Oh, I remember these. She bandaged my arm once after I got cut accidentally breaking a display case. You actually used one of her triage rooms? Yep, she cleaned me up, gave me 3 stitches on the spot, and a lollipop. Best doctor I've ever had. But right now, the doctor is out, coast is clear. You all enter to find a tidy room with a chair for patients to sit in, some supplies arranged on a table, and a doctor's bag in one corner. Let's get searching. If you see bloody clothes, signs of struggle, hidden passages in the next crazy mansion, I want to know about it. I'll check the doctor's bag. If there's one thing I've learned writing mysteries, is that you always have to look in the doctor's bag. Peering inside, you find gloves, sutures, disinfectant, and a stethoscope. Standard stuff, except for a vial. Oh, that looks suspicious. She's got a vial of morphine. Seems a little extreme for a party, right? Sure, but not out of the question if someone broke a bone or something. But it's already half empty. The question is why? We'll check out the triage table. Examining the array of supplies, you find bandages, gauze, pain relievers, alcohol swabs. Nothing too suspicious here. Looks like the pain pills are just acetaminophen. June picks up the bottle of pain reliever and turns it over in his hand. You'd have to give someone a whole lot of this before a negative effect on anything but their liver. Yeah, but your suspicion is endearing. It's nice to know I'm not the only paranoid one. He gives you a small smile before tucking the bottle back into its place. I don't think you're paranoid, just cautious, as we all should be. And you're not alone in this, Finn. Not by a long shot. No hidden passages in here as far as I can tell, but do you all seriously think Madani could have killed Nick? She's stronger than Crystal, but she's also shorter than Nick. The angle of that head wound would be hard to pull off, but not impossible. Unless she had something much better than Revivify to incapacitate him with. A dose of morphine would definitely do it. You nod back towards the medicine bag and its half-empty vial of morphine, a sudden chill running down your spine. Gang is in me, or does this handwriting look familiar? Dante picks up a small notepad from one of the room shelves. It's a list of medical supplies, but more importantly... Yeah, that writing is familiar. This matches the note I got about Crystal. Madani must have written it. Oh man, who's shocked by this one? As the chill turns to an icy unease as you glance at your companions. So she tried to redirect us towards Crystal. Explains why she was so happy to spill Crystal's secrets too. And the debts give her motive. Debts she couldn't let Nick find out about. Steve told us that Nick bailed her out once, but he made her swear she'd stop gambling, get it under control. But it's Madani. I know someone here has to be the killer, and that no answer will be easy to accept, but she's always been kind. Serious, but kind. Desperation makes people do all kinds of things. For even good people. You turn over all the new clues you've gathered in your head, and this time, they fall into place with unsettling speed. So you're telling me that choice that I made earlier about we didn't have the motive, right? But we had everything else fall into place? I was right? Egadzooks. Now playing as Madani. You've got Nick alone somewhere. This piece is still unclear, but you know what you have to do. The only way out. You said you wanted to talk, Madani? Yes, but could you pour me a drink first? Ah, that bad, huh? Well, whatever it is, I'll get us both some liquid courage before we tackle it. Nick turns away towards the drinks cart, and you pull out the small syringe you've been holding in your purse. Dose him enough to strike. Do you want some orange peel for garish, or should I keep it? His words are cut short as you drive the needle into his neck. You empty just enough into his bloodstream that he stumbles, his muscles already starting to go slack. What the hell? He tries to reach for you, but his legs won't hold him. He falls to his knees as you stand over him. You could have just given me the money. No questions asked, but you had to know why. Had to act like you know best. So, if you can't open your damn wallet to part with a few grand from your tens of billions, I'm going to take it. He clutches his head, trying to stand as you pluck a statue from a nearby shelf, a small figure of a woman. Goodbye, Nick. You have the statue swinging. After saving hundreds of lives, you know just where to strike to end this one. Now, playing as Finn. Dialogue was a bit over the top, but I don't disagree with the premise. I feel like we're missing something. We've got motive, means, but how she got into his locked bedroom to drop him out the window. And where would she have dosed him? There are just too many unknowns. I'm with Finn, but if we've learned anything today, it's that Madani's been hiding things from us as well. True. Maybe it's time for another talk with her. If I confront her with what we know, she might spill some other secrets. Alright. We should spread out just in case she runs. I'll start looking up here. You three look for her on the ground floor and get eyes on all the exits. All your allies head downstairs, and you begin peeking into the upstairs rooms. Crystal's meditation room's empty, so's Nick's lounge. You approach her bedroom, but when you knock, the door swings open a few inches with a sickening creak. What the... Madani, are you in here? With no answer, the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end as you reach for the doorknob and push the door all the way open. It takes you a moment to process what you're seeing. The furniture's askew, like there's been a struggle, and sprawled on the floor. No. You race towards her, but she's too still, surrounded by too much blood. She lies among the pieces of shattered vase, blood pooling out of her wound in her chest, and on the floor nearby, eerily familiar bloody sword. No, it can't be. This is... Your mind flashes back to your drive to Nick's house, the manuscript you were working on, still unpublished. You lunge for the fallen weapon, but the figure steps into your path, a shard of broken vase glints in their hands. I planned to make this quick, but I'm afraid now it's going to be significantly more painful. The terrible truth hits you like a punch to the gut. Madani Kapoor is dead. Killed just like the victim in my manuscript. Hmm. Sorry, not really. Remember that if you did enjoy the video, to like, share, and subscribe. Head down the description, plenty of things to check out. Without further ado, let me know what you think in the comment section. So the person with the strongest, want to end Nick is dead. Uh-oh. Now, the question is, who killed her? Now, this does narrow down the people that are literally and figuratively, on the list of who did it, right? It does narrow it down because now she's off the list, right? But with that being said, who did it? Who do you think? Yes, we'll never know. Eventually we will, though. Yeah. I'm not gonna spoil who I think it is. You know what? I'll actually double down. Who I know it is. I'm just saying, I already know who, but you guys will take about 6 more chapters to figure it out. Maybe 5. Some of you are a little bit smarter, but maybe 3. Anyway. That being said, catch you all later. Peace out.